Hello, Whole Foods. My name is Sam Bell. Blackberry Farm is my family's home and it has been for the past 40 years. We are super excited to be partnering with you all. Thank you for the opportunity. We put together this little video to give you a better idea of who we are and what we do. Blackberry Farm is in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee. We are a destination location, but the farm is a driving force of our identity. Whether it be the gardens, the sheep, the cheese making, the butchery, the charcuterie, the jams, the jellies, the preserves. It's all rooted in the farm.
Well, what inspires us here at Blackberry Farm is the people that came before us and the way they use the land.
This land has a really great history and heritage of farming, from our Cherokee ancestors here to our pioneer folks that moved in the 1800s, and we feel like it would be a disservice to the people before us to not preserve the products that we get from the land in the proper southern East Tennessee way.
My philosophy and our philosophy here at Blackberry Farm is to not try to recreate old cheeses, but to create something new and do something that's indigenous to our dairy and our area, and develop the flavors of our terroir that you can't find other places, as opposed to trying to just recreate what somebody else has already been doing for thousands of years, because there's no real excitement in that and there's no individuality to that. We try to not just take off what other people did, but to try to create new cheeses and new ideas and new flavors using what we have around here.
Our butcher also does all of the products for the restaurants here, whether it be cuts of beef, lamb, pork, chicken, fish.
I think the common theme that runs through Blackberry Farm is taking the raw products of what we help to create something that's going to have a lasting impression either on the table or just in history in general.
Some things are hard to describe. You almost have to eat them yourself, try them out just to see the differences. One of the unique things that we have here at Blackberry Farm is the seed collection. We have over 500 things in our collection, and all of these are heirloom varieties, most of them from the Appalachian region. To me, the most important reasons for collecting heirloom seeds and the preservation, we're preserving history, heritage, and genetic diversity, a lot of which has been lost over the years. So we're continually looking for what I would term new old varieties, so that we're adding to the collection every time we can find something. Generally in today's world, we think of just 4 or 5 different kinds of beans, so it's a very limited palette. So today we think mainly of the peas that we're growing as a table, something that the chefs use. But in the old days they were multi-purpose, and we're doing that here at Blackberry as well, because everything is organic farming, so they serve a very important purpose.
In fact, we often grow the Three Sisters, which is corn, beans, and squash together, which is a great organic model for the plants helping one another out. And they have to be picked by hand because there's no machine invented that can pick corn, beans, and squash at the same time. We do it by hand, the way the old-fashioned folks did. We don't use modern contrivances of mechanization, chemicals, fertilizers. We use what the farm gives us. We put it right back into the soil, and what comes out of the soil ends up on the plate, in the jar, hanging in the butcher shop for people to enjoy the way it should be enjoyed.
So our chefs have a lot of unique varieties to choose from. To me, I liken it to an artist's palette. If you have a dull palette, not much on it, and color-wise, then you're lacking a lot. But we have a vast array of things to choose from.
We're blessed here in the Smoky Mountains in East Tennessee to have a wonderful fertile valley, and the mountains also provide lots of biodiversity, so there's excellent riches in plants and botanical diversity here that you really can't find many other places in the world.
I derive a lot of my inspiration from the seasonality as well as the native plant species and different things like that that grow in the Appalachian area of Tennessee where we're located in the Smoky Mountains. So during the winter months, I'll do like a pine wrap cheese, going out and harvesting pine needles from the trees and binding a cheese in that and aging it for a few months. Then in the spring and summer, I'll do a spring grasses cheese. When we start to get into the chanterelle mushroom season, I'll do a bloomy rinded cheese with chanterelles tossed in the curds, and we call it the woodsman because it's just a nice foraged mushroom cheese.
Any time of the year you can go into the woods here and find something to eat, whether it be in a rough form or something you can bring back and make something really nice and elegant with. It's all out there, from mushrooms to berries to wild fruits, nuts. It's all out there. It's amazing.
By being good stewards of the land and all having a provenance here in this area, most of us grew up in this area right here in these hills, and all of us have southern grandmothers who would be very disappointed if we didn't preserve all of these great items, from the garden, from the land, from the fields, and so by being out in the field, seeing the ecosystem in the garden, we can get a great feel for what will eventually come out of the garden. And then we pass it along to the rest of the artisans, who then make something really special and singular from it.
Ultimately, when we make a jam or preserve the fruit is the focus it has to be. And so we use the same techniques that, say Granny did, but we take a little more scientific approach to it as well. And in that regard, we, number one, can maintain consistency within the product, but number two, we use less sugar than a lot of other people might. The fruit is always the first ingredient on the label, and that shows when you open the jar too. You can smell the fruit and you can taste the fruit, and it's just not sugary sweet like a lot of other products out there. The sugar is the preservative, but we don't want to go overboard and use that as the flavor profile also. The fruit should be first. We work with a lot of small local farmers here, and they specialize in many different fruits and vegetables, and we know that we can go to them and they're going to bring us the best that they have right when it's ripe, and then we take it from there and preserve it at its best.
We receive hogs from Jim Simpson, who is in Athens, Tennessee. He gets hogs from local farmers all around East Tennessee area. They all are held to a strict standard of how the hogs are treated as they're raised, when they're slaughtered, and how they're broke down from there. So first we start with whole hogs. We use the shoulders and hams for our salami. We use the jowl for our guanciale. We do bacon, lomo. We cure the whole hog. Nothing goes to waste. We do the salami and guanciale mostly. For the salami, we use the hams and the shoulders, so the fronts and the backs of the hog. We break those down into small pieces of lean and fat. We cure that, salt, sugar, spices. We run it through the grinder and knead it like bread dough. We stuff it into casings. It's fermented for a couple of days, and then it's dried for about 2 months. So it's a good, long process. We dry for a couple of months for a couple of reasons. One is flavor development. We start with, for example, the sopressata, the paprika, the peppers, all of the ingredients that go into it. As they age, the longer they go, the more prevalent they are in the sausage. Really what it comes down to is the combination of flavors, the development of flavors. Making a good salami is no different than making a good sauce. You're building flavors.
Our focus is not being the largest and selling the most products, so we have the ability to really focus on the quality of our product and making sure that we're really giving our customers and our guests here at Blackberry the best quality product we can do.
At Blackberry, the artisans work together. Everyone functions with the same end goal in mind. What the garden doesn't use, the preservation kitchen uses. What the preservation kitchen doesn't use, the pigs will eat. What the pigs eat, the butcher benefits from. It's full circle, and that's what makes what we're doing here most meaningful.
A lot of the time in the winter, John and I will actually sit down, maybe over a glass of wine, and talk about the interesting things that he'll have going on in the garden. And he always tries to do a theme garden, and I get really excited about that. And make some suggestions to him.
So the larder team, I work with them very closely. A lot of times with those guys, especially Ryan, he's the livestock manager, we talk a lot about the hogs that we have out in the field. But on top of that, just flavor combinations, really for R&D purposes. Those guys are excellent chefs, and I rely a lot on their expertise and opinion as I develop new products.
And it's great because we can kind of pull off of each other. Last year, we created a cheese that was based off of our beer, using the beer to wash the cheese, and then also using the spent grain to dust it after it was beer washed. And then Shannon, our preservationist, turned around and made a jam based off of that can be paired with the two of them as well. So he put a little bit of hops, and then it was also a strawberry ramp jam with some hops in there, so it pairs great with our Downer brown cheese, which pairs great with our farm ale. So it kind of is this full circle of artisans that all kind of can work and do things together.
It's really a wonderful place to be able, as a gardener, to grow the things that we love growing, and then have them presented in the proper way that they should be presented by a really talented and wonderful culinary staff.
Blackberry Farm is a place where a collection of artisans define who we are. The fact that there's a cheesemaker, a butcher, the gardeners, the beekeepers, the chocolatiers, the chefs, the sommeliers, all under one roof, working together, making the whole much stronger than any individual part, is what really makes this place unique and special.